promised me to be here and you're not even on time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Please hold your applause. Thanks.
No.
Uh, Hello and welcome to the members of the press.
Thank you for having us. Having. Thank you for forcing us here.
Yeah, I appreciate you putting me on your podcast under duress.
Yeah. That's fine. I actually am excited for this though. So first off, thank you, Dan the man, for taking the time to sit down and talk to me. Because to be honest, I feel like there's a lot of people in the league right now that just want some answers on a couple different things. Um, would you agree?
Yeah, do they deserve the answers? That's to be questioned, but yeah, they want answers, so here I am.
All right. Well, what I want to kind of start with is kind of just give us a state of the league address. I think a lot of people want to talk about just the state of the league and where we're at. I mean, it's been a very long time since we've done one of these. I'm not even sure you were the commissioner the last time we had a state of the league address. Um,
Ah, um, I'd be surprised if the professor had ever done a State of the Union. It might have been me that did the last State of the Union, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah,
it's possible, but it's been a very long time. And to be honest,
sure.
the amount of members that were here last time compared to now, almost none of us are the same, right? There's very few of us from that time.
That
And
is
so
true.
I want to make sure we go over the members, the current active titles, and just the overall status of the league at this point. So if you wouldn't mind, please.
Yeah, yeah. So let me just start by saying fantasy wrestling, entertainment, or I guess the league, whatever iteration it may be, WFW, WWFW, FWE. We're going into our 10th year right now. WrestleMania 40 will mark the beginning of year 10. And the state of the union right now is bad, needs work. People aren't cutting promos, people aren't showing up for drafts. We are the biggest we have ever been. We are now national. Chicago, LA, St. Louis, Atlanta, but we have definitely lost some of the connection of being in the same city together and being able to watch pay-per-views at the same time and getting under each other's skin as we would watch those pay-per-views. And people just aren't pulling their weight anymore. They aren't doing their job. They aren't showing up. They aren't caring, for lack of a better word, which is very upsetting because I would argue that this is one of the best times to be a professional wrestling fan. So entering our third year, 10th year, oh my gosh, 10th year, we will be culling the rotten fruit. We will be accepting new members. We will be getting rid of members that don't do their part. We will be redefining some things. FWE Championship will always be around. Raw Championship will always be around. SmackDown Championship will always be around. Intercontinental Championship, that might need some workings. And I've been talking to the board of directors, and we have decided moving forward that there have been calls for a creative title. The FWE, Raw, SmackDown, they're all based on points. But the Workhorse Championship, the creative title, I think can be the Intercontinental Championship. So moving forward, it will be defended at SummerSlam. And then this is how it's going to work. You cut a promo on the current champion. Whichever promo is best will be decided between myself as commissioner and the current champion. And that will be the story that moves the belt forward. So starting at SummerSlam, we will be defending that Intercontinental Championship.
Okay. Well, first, I want to congratulate you on 10 years of fantasy wrestling. Because to be honest, I mean, anyone doing anything for 10 years is miraculous, but
Yeah.
especially something that we're all, doing for free and in our free time. And you've been able to maintain and sustain this for 10 years, and this has been a fun thing for all of us. So
While
um,
also being the championship for more than half that time.
yeah, so that's actually another thing that people wanted to talk about because when you look at the history of fantasy wrestling, specifically with Dan the Man, a lot of people want to know and understand, how do you justify being the commissioner and also spending so much time as champion? Because here's the deal. I understand who you are as a fantasy wrestler. We've stepped in the ring many times. I've beaten you. You've beaten me. I have a lot of respect for you. And I understand how it's possible, but there are a lot of people that simply don't. And they might think that something's going on behind the scenes in order to make that many title reigns and that many long title reigns happen. So, what would you say to those people?
Sure. I think there will always be conspiracy theorists that talk about the power at the top and how does this possibly happen? How this possibly happens is I am the best at this. I have been around since it was created. I know how it works. I know the inner workings. I know the outer workings. I know how best to carry yourself forward as champion. I know how to win championships, secure defenses. I know how to do every bit of this job. And that gives me my rightful place at the top. Yeah, sure, there have been some instances where I'm not champion. I get things wrong every now and again, but I know how to look at this league and put myself right at the top if I want it.
Eh, So, I guess the follow up to that would be, how do you, not really how do you, but why do you think you would want to stay at the top for so long and for so many times? How at some point have you not really wanted to take on a protege and pass that forward?
I've tried. I've tried to step away. There have been several other commissioners aside from me. Your brother was, rest in peace. He was one of those commissioners. Mr. Babs was also a commissioner, but Babs had to take some time off. And who did he?
Fantastic commissioner, by the way. I did work for Mr. Babs.
Yeah, he was great. But when he took some time off, no one else was willing to step up. So they dragged me out of retirement back into the chair. And of course, if I'm going to be back in the chair, I'm going to be a competitor again and I'm going to win championships. Now, I don't, aside from maybe one person right now, I don't think there is anyone good enough to take this spot.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you've been challenged for this spot
Yeah,
multiple times over the
yeah.
last couple months.
Mhm.
A very good constituent of mine, a fellow Trinity member, Chet Stedman, has actually personally challenged you for that title and the commissionership.
Yeah.
And you've been silent. So I'll give you this time. Do you want to remain silent, or do you want to address this at this time?
Oh, I'll address it. I accept. Sure. Yeah. Everything. If he wants the belt on the line, if he wants the commissionership on the line, we'll call it tribal combat, except that's appropriation, so we'll just call it regular combat.
Good
Yeah.
call.
If he wants to step up and challenge me for that, absolutely. If he loses, I'm still commissioner. I have nothing gained, nothing lost. If I lose, Chet Stedman ascends that throne. Chet Stedman gets to see what it's like babysitting 12, 20 to 30-year olds. He gets to see what I have to deal with. And then I get to fade into the back and watch this place burn.
Is that what you will do? Like, let's pie in the sky for a second. Let's say Chet Stedman pulls this off, wins, is commissioner.
Yeah.
What does that mean for Dan the Man in terms of reaction? What are your next steps after that? Do you immediately go for a retry and a rematch and try to take that back? Do you give Chet
No,
Stedman the time to learn and grow? Like,
no.
what does that look for you?
I will take a step back, and I will watch Chet Stedman struggle with this as others have in the past. I will be the voice on his shoulder that just says, I told you so. Because I did. I'm telling him right now, he doesn't want this. But if he gets it, if he gets his dream, he will fail, and I will be there to laugh.
Very bold. There's one last thing that I think the people want addressed, and by the people I mean me personally, and I think other people have a vested interest in this, but I need to know. We need to talk about backlash for a second because I want to understand where was the board of directors and where was our commissioner when let's take a look at the facts for a second. Natural selection and I win the exact same amount of matches at Backlash, which is zero. Neither of us won a single match. Yet I leave titleless and natural selection leaves with not one but two titles.
Yeah, sure. I think that's unfortunate timing by the board of directors. They decided that month, going into our 10th year, we would hold people accountable for their promos. And I think that was a good idea. I think holding people accountable for their monthly promos is a good idea. They started enforcing that rule that month. And unfortunately for Chet Stedman, he got the shaft on that. Uh, Natural selection cut a promo. Chet did not. So Chet forfeits. You cut a promo. Unfortunately, your opponent cut a promo. You two were even. You both were able to compete. And unfortunately, you just weren't the better man that night.
So that explains one of those two belts. Natural
Oh,
selection loses the Intercontinental title and yet somehow walks away with it because
yeah.
what his random opponent decided he didn't want the belt anymore. So natural selection
Yeah.
gets to just take
Yeah.
it.
He's actually trying to run that one back for SummerSlam, but I've told him no. Um, yeah, that I can't begin to understand the inner workings of natural selection, unfortunately. And until the board of directors and I figured out how the Intercontinental Championship is going to work, which again is that creative title moving forward, it's been in limbo. It's been in the nether, and that nether has apparently been on natural selection's shoulder. So whether he defends it at SummerSlam or moving forward, he still could be champion moving forward. But starting at SummerSlam, he will be defending that belt and living with the consequences, which is something else that we need to start doing. Living with the consequences of our match. If the commissionership is on the line, if the title is on the line, if it's a hair versus hair match, we live with those stipulations.
I think that's fair. I think that if we decide to go through with those challenges and those acceptances, that we have to live with those decisions. Well, thank you, Dan the Man, for taking the time to talk to me today. I think a lot of people are going to hear these answers, satisfied with them. That's up to them. I'm not going to speak on their behalf, but
Sure.
I do think that they will, at some level, at least appreciate you taking the time to come here and answer some questions.
And I just want a final thought, I guess. We are, like I said, moving into our 10th year. And I want to reiterate we will be holding people responsible for promos and drafts and getting their cards turned in on time. If you don't, there will be consequences, and we will be culling the rotten fruit. And we do have other people that want to be here. So if you are part of this league, you are going to want to be here.
Chilling final words from the commissioner. Well, thanks for sitting down with us. That's all the time we have for this press conference today. Um,
Was it just you, or were there more press people behind you to talk to?
the
Your
only
background's blurry. I can't.
the only other person in the room is Stone Cold Steve Meowston, and he's rolled up like a croissant taking a nap. So I don't think there's any other questions for you today.
Yeah, he doesn't speak English anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. So
All right.
please hit the music. Let Dan the Man make his exit. That is all the time we have for today on the FWE Press Conference leading into SummerSlam 2023. We are entering our 10th year, ladies and gentlemen, which means
Yeah.
10 years of a legacy that it is up to us to carry, 10 years of championships that we will have to carry forward. Let's see if Dan the Man can get dethroned this year. I'm not saying that I'm rooting for anyone in particular for that match, but
I see, I see. Well, then Eddie F. Wicked, I'm going to tell you the same thing I was about to tell Chet. Go fuck yourself.
classy as always from our commissioner. Thank you for joining us at today's press conference, and you folks have a wonderful rest of your night.